that particular file on the target machine itself. There's a new search Windows registry command. One of the other great new commands that are in LANrev is the new view text file command, which basically lets you view in real time OS X system logs, NT event log files, or any other text file. And I'll show that to you later in the live demo how that actually works. But it's great for troubleshooting things where an application is outputting a live log file that's actually constantly changing. How do you view that remotely? LANrev will actually refresh that on a per second basis, or however long the interval you want it to be, but by default it happens to be 1 second, which is pretty real time. Other miscellaneous changes, the custom Zoma option now allows you to automatically update agents. Previously it would only let you install agents. There's now a remote control integration with Leopard screen sharing. That's nice because if your admin console is on a Leopard system, you no longer have to buy a third-party remote control application. You can just use the built-in one. There's been a whole host of new age-related information items that have been added for the various inventory categories. That way, you can tell how old the inventory you're looking at is, when the last time that particular agent machine sent in that inventory information. There's also now support for calendar dates and smart criteria. So, for example, you can say, I want to see a listing of all machines that have sent in heartbeats within the last calendar month. So if we're in the month of May, you'll get a listing of all machines that have sent in heartbeats within the month of April, all of April, and not just the last 30 days. There's also some new unexposed server and agent settings that you're not going to see because there's no UI for it, basically, within the product itself. There's a setting to automatically resolve duplicate agent serial numbers. Usually these result from customers imaging agent machines with the agent serial number intact on that disk image. There's also support for displaying dual boot systems, for example, boot camp systems that have both a Mac and a Windows partition. Now LANrev, just like any other client management software, uses a Mac hardware address as sort of a check for uniqueness, right? So if you have two operating systems with the same Mac hardware address, what will happen is that they'll show up as one system. There's a way to exempt those machines now. In the future, LANrev will just take care of this automatically if it determines that the operating systems, one of them is a Mac OS X, the other one is Windows. You can also now automatically inventory optional information items. It's something that you're going to have to pre-configure in the LANrev client itself or edit the agent preference settings. For example, certain things we don't inventory automatically are processes because they're rather ephemeral. That's very ephemeral data. Once you get it, it's pretty much useless. Other things, it's because you incur some amount of overhead that you might not necessarily want. For example, installed software will scan the hard drive for installed software. So normally we don't gather that automatically. But if you wanted to, you can now do that. LANrev Engineering has taken great pains to improve usability to make it easier for you to use LANrev. All of these changes are mostly in the LANrev Administrator console. You can now mark command templates as favorites. So you can sort of see in this little snippet of a screenshot here that once you mark something as favorites, it shows up in the favorites menu. So it's very much easier to access. Standards and smart groups can now be exported simply by selecting a group of them and dragging them out to the desktop and dragging them back in. This makes it easier for you to share your smart groups with colleagues. There's new contextual commands for building standard and smart groups. So you can simply right-click a listing of machines and pick to build a smart group based on that or a standard group based on that. LANrev will automatically pre-populate the selection criteria for the smart groups for you based on what you've actually highlighted. There's also contextual commands to copy text either from the entire computer entry or from a specific cell in that entry. Places where you might want to use this is, for example, let's say you're building a license spec where you need to know the installer receipt. Well, that's data that you can get from somewhere else within LANrev. Previously, you had to type it in, which tends to promote typos, especially with long installer receipts that have a lot of have a unique GUID in them. Now you can just cut and paste them, basically. There's also an option to disable auto-scanning of Active Directory and Windows networking in the Agent Deployment Center. Previously, to improve performance, LANrev would automatically start scanning these various zones as soon as you launch LANrev admin. What we found was that it was slowing down the launch of the admin for some end users that had particularly large Active Directory infrastructures. And the biggest change of all is with our with the LANrev install ease repackager. It's now completely free. You can go straight to our website, sign up for a serial number and activation key. We don't require that you do anything except put in some basic information, and you'll get something in your email within a couple of minutes to actually use our product. So now let me switch to a live demo here to show you some of the features here where I didn't have screenshots for. So here's what some of the multi-editing actually looks like. So let's say I select all of these packages at the same time. I can now edit them all at the same time, and you can see what that actually looks like. You can see where there are values that are grayed out. It means that they're different for the various operatings or the various packages. So if I enable that, I can change them for all of them at the same time. Other ones are locked out like these because they're set on a per package basis. You can see here's a platform architecture information item that I mentioned before, the CPU architecture information item. Let's take a quick look here at the reinstall computer command. So you can see what that actually looks like. So there's that new file server option that I mentioned here, where you would put in the path to the AFP share as well as the credentials for the where to get the disk image for. And towards the bottom here are those new options to preserve the local user accounts as well as migrate the LANrev agent. There's that checkbox right there to actually show the progress bar to the end users so they know what's going on during the disk imaging process. We'll take a quick look at the custom information field, so you can get a sample and idea of what these actually look like. So here's a sample one for the ARD, one of the ARD information items. So this happens to be a plist value. Here's one that actually a plist value to sort of peer inside of the Flash plugin to find out what version it is. Here's another one right here. This happens to be a Windows-based one for a batch file. Now let's take a quick look here at the view text file command here. So you can see how that functions real time. So I'm going to launch a script here which basically just outputs the time, or the date and the time, on a recurring basis every couple of seconds or so. And so what I can do then is go in here and actually view that in real time, and you'll see it actually update. And so right now it's set to update every 1 second, so you can see that I'm actually looking at it in real time. Now I mentioned those age-related information items. So if we take a really quick look here at the individual computer window, you can see up here in the upper right corner here that the age of some of this data, how old it is. So if I click through these various categories, I'll get different values for each of them. So this information happens to be 27 minutes old. If I look at installed software, it tells me, let me zoom out here, that it's actually 4 months old. So at any one time, you can tell how old data is for a particular machine and for that particular information category. And the one last thing is the exporting of smart groups and standard groups. Now, I've only got smart groups in here, but you can see how that would actually work. It's very simple. I drag them out. If I drag them back in, I'll end up re-importing them, and I'll get duplicates, basically. So that ends the live demo portion. And we'll switch over to the Q&A. So we've got about 5 minutes for that.